As Crytek, coming from Germany, we have to be different.
As a carrier for the strain.
So we just experimented.
That AI system was super advanced, but it took us also 18 months to write the AI system. So 18 months no action on screens.
That sandbox feeling that the Nanosuit provided was, I think, a super empowering and fascinating mechanic.
There's the weapon and then there's the enemy, but most of the screen is just filled with my assets.
Hi, I'm Chevat.
Hi, I'm Auni.
Hi, I am Frederik.
And we are the three Yeli brothers, the founders of Crytek.
Well, it all started in 1994 when we convinced our father to buy us a high-end PC. So he spent 3 months of his salary to buy us a PC, which is from a black box. And we obviously told we need for studying, but use it for gaming. But every time when we played a game, we had to complain about certain things, certain features. Some of the experience was not good and so on. And then Gerard came and said, let's do our own game company.
I downloaded some simple OpenGL example, which renders cube. I just started to experiment with it. And I just published this screenshot in the internet. And Chevat contacted me, like, wow, we have a great plan. And you're like, right fit.
Our thought was, as Crytek, coming from Germany, we have to be different. We cannot be a typical German game company because German game companies usually used back then strategy games, RPG games, very complicated to play. So our idea was to offer experience which is open world, sandbox experiences, semi-sandbox experiences, where you can also see the environment, walk around, experience everything. And that was completely new. We met 50 people across the world through ICQ, which we have never met before, and have developed with them demos.
So then I kind of worked online. So we just experimented and just built a Exile demo.
And I have the demo disc, which we took here in 2000 to trade shows and pitched them basically to the game companies. It was actually very lucky because we had no appointment. Then when we showed it, the people from the media were super impressed by this. They signed basically our first commercial agreement with us. And with the first commercial agreement, we did the Dinosaur Island demo. And that was done partially with remote people and partially with people which we brought in from the first commercial deal on-site to co-work.
It was great to kind of really relocate and I got official job. Before it was just some funny project.
First day, it was very small. I was coming from Berlin and going back to village.
Yeah, I was pretty much a fish out of water coming from San Francisco.
Most of them was programmed by me, basically. We just had additional guy. He ported our animation system to the GPU. This was able to show dinosaurs with like unbelievable 20,000 polygons, which right now is kind of not very impressive.
NVIDIA used this as demo to launch the GeForce 3 graphics card. That brought us overnight suddenly in a completely different picture. When we met at the trade show where we showed the first time our tech demo, some representatives from Ubisoft were also there because the NVIDIA had a gathering together that evening. And that was also the foundation how Ubisoft then signed up finally with us for Far Cry. Then I must thank very much Yves Guillemot for doing this because he trusted in three brothers and a couple of people who were working somewhere in the world. So he believed in that we can pull it off.
Company continued to growing and build the engine basically partially based on this on the Exile demo code, kind of to make it more structured, more like real engine basically.
Three years later, we delivered a great Far Cry experience, which then is the foundation of the Far Cry franchise, which Ubisoft carries forward very successfully.
My own DNA as a carrier for the strain.
Far Cry was a pretty amazing game. I was a game art student at the time when the game came out, and I was blown away by how cool it looks and how far they have pushed technology back then.
All the games around was mostly like indoor corridor shooters, and I said, like in few years, it's much better to release outdoor kind of open world game instead of just another corridor shooter, basically.
Gerard came out with the idea, okay, let's make huge terrains. And let's make vegetations in water with reflection and with technical features, which also adds value to gameplay. As example, Far Cry was probably one of the first game, as far as I remember, where AI could hear and see you, which offers all kinds of variations for gameplay. So you take a rock, throw it in the corner, AI gets distracted and moves over.
Did you hear that?
Do a second time.
Did you hear that?
But third time he doesn't do it because he knows there's something wrong.
I'm gonna take you out.
That AI system was super advanced, but it took us also 18 months to write the AI system. So 18 months no action on screen. This was unbelievable. Even for Ubisoft back then, it was a big stretch actually. With Far Cry, we launched basically CryEngine 1. And then we want to go to the next level with the engine. And so we want to develop the second iteration of it. But at the same time, we want to take also gameplay further. We want to come into an environment where we can tell a better story, where we can offer a great entertainment experience.
I arrived perhaps a year after they started development on Crysis. They started with the code from Far Cry and started developing it.
Towards the end of my time at the game art school, there were some screenshots released of like a cool soldier on an aircraft carrier guiding a jet plane in the right direction. And that looked absolutely stunning. And that's why I remembered that there's this awesome company in Germany that I could actually apply for. And that's what I did.
I was super, super lucky to land the job at a place like Crytek, right? Coming out of game school, no prior experience in the industry. I played Far Cry a lot, and I was super excited about what was in the press about Crysis at that time. So for me, it was amazing seeing what the guys have been doing.
We said also we need to continue innovating. We need to come up with new features, with new technological features, which also adds a lot of gameplay value, but which makes the game also look stunning and come close to basically cinematic experiences. And that's where we set the bar very high.
The sooner we are off this rock, the better.
Yeah, we just, again, it was kind of young and without knowing limitations, basically. And our Crytek was like a band of rock stars.
I knew that I was part of something special, that's for sure. And I didn't really think that I can contribute to what Crytek was doing back then because it was so out of my league and everyone's league, basically, especially from a technological point of view. I remember very vividly, I opened up a test level, which was called Breakability or something like this. And then I jumped into a tank and suddenly everything was in motion. Palm trees were breaking, leaves were bending, sun shafts and all that, you know. I mean, we know why Crysis is cool, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I saw it a little bit earlier than public, of course. That I was completely blown away that this is even possible. It didn't run so well back then on my machine. Of course, you had to have a really beefy PC, but that was mind-boggling.
I joined a year before we shipped Crysis 1, so a large part of the game was already there, but it was raw. So my responsibility back then, together with the other designers, was to kind of turn the individual components into something which feels like it's a game, right? Like everything comes together.
I'm gonna access the KPA security.
I kind of owned the weapon pipeline in terms of how the weapons should be balanced and multiplayer, single player, all that type of stuff. So that was pretty amazing.
My very first task was a flashbang grenade. And I was quite excited about it because, you know, it's a first-person shooter and the weapons are very close to the camera and it's like super high fidelity and everything. And I put my heart and soul into that thing because assuming it would be like a grenade that you like you do in first-person shooters. You hold in your hand, and you have some idle animations and that kind of stuff, and you can look at how cool it looks. Only to realize that it is one of those quick grenades that you just throw out of nowhere, and you see like 2 pixels flying away. Back then, my supervisor forgot to tell me that little detail, but it was okay. It was fun. I learned a lot how to make stuff for the engine, but yeah.
I mean, for me, the first assignments were more about beautification, let's say it like that. So I was assigned to a team that was focusing on doing the last mile, right? Polishing every scene to all the details. For me, it was the first month mostly placing decals, in a nutshell. Thousands of decals all over the place, under the banana trees, on the roads and stuff like that. That was my assignment. But at the same time, I used it in order to get even more familiar with the sandbox editor.
Towards the end, it was clear, okay, we're setting a new standard here. You could chop over the palm trees. They had like a bending mechanism. When the leaf was falling over, there was a bone in it, and every leaf would move individually. That was from Crysis 1 already. There was a small team of artists and level designers, and they went to some tropical island and took a lot of photos and ideas with them, and came back and brought this into the team and had a very strong vision after the field trip of what they want to achieve with that. I think that pushed the level of quality and the visual consistency quite a bit.
The biggest difference between Far Cry, and Far Cry was a good looking game, don't get me wrong, it was technologically absolutely amazing. In Far Cry, the art department created a natural environment as they have imagined it, like they built the jungle out of their head, so to say. And in Crysis, we mimicked nature as closely as possible. I think that made a massive difference. Even though in some areas the technology wasn't so different, the way we built the environment, the way we used the technology, like really specifically trying to mimic how nature behaves, how leaves look like when the sun shines through them, how the ocean looks like, how the water refracts and so on. The artists working together with the engineers to really try to create a virtual environment that looks just like the references that we have gathered. I think that mindset made Crysis stand out so much in comparison as well.
If you want to build a real place, the best you can do is to go to this place and capture impressions, bring them with you. I guess that I filled most of the screen, like as an environment artist and building trees and nature and playing in a nature game. You are always taking 80% of the screen. Then there's the weapon and then there's the enemy, but most of the screen is just filled with my assets.
That was the most impressive thing to me, just the dense vegetation and the forests and such. And even when they show some of the opening shots from Crysis 1, it still looks great today. It looks so good.
I just build the assets, but you can build the best asset in the world. If the lighting and engine is not good enough, you don't get anything out of it. So I guess in the end, it's the whole package of good assets, good lighting, good technology, good deals with hardware people.
Usually if you have an object and engine creates exactly for this object, shadow map, shadow text basically, and so you cast shadow per object pretty much. So level designer selects important objects basically and only them casting shadow. But in Crysis 1 we made the system to cast from everything. Everything around you, in the forest, every little leaf, casting shadow. And it was really like, I would say, big achievement at that time.
You compare it to where we are now, you can totally see the evolution, but still, especially in terms of like the lighting has gotten much better. But back then, it was kind of a step beyond what other games had done.
SSAO also was developed at Crysis 1. All dynamic stuff, static stuff, everything, getting up proper kind of ambient occlusion based, and it was really big improvement.
We seem to have hit a dead end.
It's not just the technology, it is like that collaboration between engineers and artists with the common goal of trying to mimic reality as closely as possible.
For me, the experience is always about making a game first. But that doesn't mean you should completely disregard real-world experience with firearms, because that can influence the sensation quite a bit. Like how much kick should there be? What should the camera do? How quickly should you reload? What's the impact on target downrange? Like as a shot connects, should it penetrate a wall or not based on caliber? Like having that understanding of what a firearm can and cannot do, and then making an abstract rule set of that applies to your game to encourage awesome real interactions. That's the real beauty of the game designer and weapons to kind of like make happen.
So I was responsible for the destruction in Crysis 1 huts, all the little wooden shacks. And we had to place like joint objects that hold the individual pieces together. And we just got very rough information, and we had to place it all and then realize it doesn't work. So why does it not work? And you have to try and see why does it not work in the first place? Did they do something wrong? Should the setup be?
I would say rather towards the end of the production, or let's say the last third or second half, we really understood roughly what the game is about and how to build spaces to really make sure the nanosuit shines and you can make use of its cool features. So it was more of an iterative process, like learning the cool things about the game while doing it. The nanosuit developed over time, and we have figured out why the nanosuit is cool over time, and understood along the way how to make use of it and how to make use of the cool features.
A very early version of the nanosuit it's just a piece of equipment that you can kind of get a little bit through the story, but you actually start as being a regular soldier, and then it's just somewhere along the upgrade path that you can get to that. So instead, for the nanosuit design, we went into extremes. So we said like maximum speed, maximum armor. Immediately see the empowering you get from, like, everybody goes like, where did he go? Because he just turned invisible, right? That sandbox feeling that the nanosuit provided was, I think, a super empowering and fascinating mechanics that you really only as a designer understand it as you go and think about all the different options it can have. And I think like through those 3 Crysis titles that I've worked on, in the different concept and prototyping phases, we've had almost every possibility a nanosuit could shape and take.
Overall, we have been pretty crazy with features on Crysis. But like I said, the aim was really to set another benchmark, which Crysis to a certain degree, at least from the MEM, has achieved, because it has been used for almost 2 decades. Can it run Crysis? Every time when a new hardware was launching, Crysis was a reference game.
We went gold, and shortly after the first reviews came in, that was just amazing.
Like every magazine wanted to have like an interview, an article about it, getting an exclusive screenshot or something like that. So you could kind of see like these dozens, if not hundreds, of magazine covers with the game on. That just felt pretty amazing.
Because I didn't know, I could no longer tell, and I think nobody really could back then, whether this is going to be appreciated by the people, if this is actually a good game, because it was so different. You know, it was not a classic shooter. It was, we had the nanosuit, you could turn yourself invisible, you had all of those cool powers and the dynamic environment and so on. So there was no rule set, a common rule set that we have applied back then. It was just something completely new, the freedom that you had in that sandbox.
I mean, visually absolutely stunning, impressive, and then gameplay-wise in terms of creative freedom, the sandbox, right, the opportunities. I mean, it was just a wow, right?
I had some part in doing some cool stuff, but the other people, the other renderers there just really revolutionized a lot of things. I was very proud to be on that team, and obviously it had a big impact in the gaming industry. So that was very fun.
So we want to use basically methods from the blockbuster films and apply them in games like collaborations with Hans Zimmer.
Experience of Crysis 1 was a jungle, we had the experience of Crysis 2 with the city, and now we could combine it.
For Rise, we took a more linear approach, but we went very crazy with performance capturing.